Muy bien, buenos días a todos. Hoy nos encontramos con un webinar un poco de sorpresa porque nos está visitando eh, en nuestro instituto una persona nacida aquí en Río Tercero y que por su historia actualmente se encuentra viviendo en los Estados Unidos, en Texas. Ella se llama Ruth María Ruggero Hughs. ¿eh? Que ha venido a pasar unos días con su esposo y sus hijos, visitando su ciudad natal, y hemos tenido la dicha esta mañana de que sus hijos compartieran en nuestras aulas con una experiencia muy linda. Y le hemos pedido a a Ruth, perdón, que ella pueda compartirnos algo de su vida, de su trabajo, del lugar donde vive. Y lo vamos a hacer en inglés, porque bueno, nuestros estudiantes ejercitan fuertemente el tema del inglés, así que lo vamos a hacer en inglés. Así que Ruth, te damos la más cordial bienvenida, te agradecemos tu disposición y te dejamos con nuestros estudiantes.
Hola, buenos días. Estoy muy agradecida al director y a todas las maestras, los profesores y ustedes, los estudiantes, por la linda bienvenida que nos dieron. ¿Cuántos de ustedes nacieron en Río Tercero? ¿Pueden levantar la mano? Ajá, muchos. Ah, me olvidé que yo vine acá a practicar español, pero necesito hablarles a ustedes en inglés. Así que voy a cambiar. I was also born in Rio Tercero many years ago. And we didn't have a bilingual school. So I would come in the summers to visit my grandparents, and I went to the school de las monjas, and it was all girls. And I met Claudia the Imperio, my friend, since we were very little. We're still friends today, and we communicate on WhatsApp. And we talk about my life and her life and what we're doing. And her husband, Fernando Rodriguez, is here somewhere too. And I'm very grateful that he gave us this opportunity to be here today. So I was born in Rio Tercero, but Perón was president, and then the military took over. My father was studying to be a doctor, and he had an opportunity to study in the United States, and so they moved. I didn't want to move. I still don't want to move, but I had to move, and I had many wonderful opportunities because I was able to go to the United States. But I always loved the culture, the food, the warmth of the people here, and I still do. So we come back to visit whenever we can. My great-great-grandfather was the founder of this city, Pedro Marín Moroto. Well, before him, Modesto Acuña, and then Pedro Marín Moroto. So my grandmother grew up in La Casa de la Cultura, and my father grew up on Mitre, and my mother grew up in Remedios de Escalada near Club Atlético, and they met when they were 13. And they got married, and then they went to the United States. First to New York, where I went to kindergarten. I didn't speak any English. I wouldn't speak at all. I was so nervous. I didn't start speaking until second grade, and then I started to talk in English, and I haven't stopped since then. So my husband Greg can tell you that. But my parents moved, I think because my father spoke Spanish. We went to the United States for 1 year, and then it was one more year, one more, and we stayed. And now I am very old, and we still live in the United States. And so we moved to Texas because there are many people that speak Spanish in Texas. It shares a border with Mexico, and I think more than 50% of the population in Texas will be Hispanics, is what they say, Hispanos, of Mexican descent mostly. And so there were many opportunities for people who speak Spanish and English in Texas in particular. And I went to the University of Texas. I think it might be a bad sign here, but we're the Longhorns. Is this bad? ¿Es malo este signo? La Universidad de Texas, este es el signo es la Longhorns. ¿Qué es Longhorns? ¿Como el toro con los cuernos? Okay. Esa era mi mascota de mi universidad in Austin. And then for law school, it's a doctorate. And so I moved to New Jersey, the East Coast. I went to Rutgers. And then I lived in New Jersey and New York for 13 years. And in 2004, I moved back to Texas to be near my family, my parents, and my three brothers. But I grew up without having my cousins and my aunts and my uncles and everyone close to us in Texas. So inside my house was a small Argentina, or a small Rio Tercero, and then outside the world was very different. They didn't eat milanesa, they didn't drink mate, and so it's just very warm here. It feels like I'm in my house everywhere when we come back to visit. But being a lawyer gave me many opportunities, particularly I say to young women, you know, no one can take your education away from you. And so you can get married, divorced, people die, they come and go, but your education and the things that you learn, you take with you for your entire life, and they give you many opportunities in life. And for me, that's been very important to be able to work as a lawyer. And I worked mostly as an attorney, but then in Texas, I started working for a man who now is the governor of Texas. And when he became governor, first I worked as a lawyer. And when he became governor, he asked me to serve, to be in charge of the workforce. So it'd be like the Ministry of Work. And so that gave me an opportunity to travel all of Texas. Texas is very big, 30 million people. It takes 13 hours driving to leave the state of Texas. If Texas were its own country, it would be the 9th largest economy in the entire world if it was a country by itself. It's a very strong state, but also a very big state, very different points of view, and very different than California or New York that many people think of when they go to the United States or Disney World or something. So anyway, I had the opportunity to work there. And then in 2019, the governor asked me to serve as the Texas Secretary of State. And that is a great honor because I became part of Texas history. If you go to the Texas Capitol, Capitolio in Austin, Texas, and you go into the Secretary of State's office, you will see a picture of me with better hair, but still. It's a picture of me. And I was asked to serve, to oversee the elections for presidential elections that President Trump was on the ballot. And you may have heard that those elections were very contentious. There was a lot of argument about the elections and whether there was fraud or whether it was fair. And the fights about that still continue. And we actually had a riot in our capital January 6th of 2021. Did you follow that here? Did you see that? Yeah, I would be curious to hear what you all thought, seeing that was happening in the United States. And so we're still kind of trying to figure some of those things out in our country, and trying to figure out a way forward, because the pandemic created all sorts of new problems, right? When virtual learning and lots of challenges with school, with work. And so we've all, as the world, realized that we need to work together and we need to find ways to embrace technology, but also hopefully not have technology take over, you know, in terms of our interactions with other humans. And I think that's been very hard. But I understand your school, you went virtual during the pandemic? It's great. Many students weren't able to do that, and they lost 1 or 2 years of education, where they go back to school and they don't know how to behave, how to sit in a classroom, how to listen to teachers, how to work with friends. So those of us who had the opportunity to continue in school, it was a lot of work and care from all of the adults in your lives that made the effort to make sure that was possible. So I can talk about different things. I can talk about the elections. I can talk about Texas or about jobs. But is there something you would like to hear about in particular that you're curious about? Sophia, what did you learn today? Well, I know she'll tell me later. Can you understand me? Am I speaking too fast? No. Okay. So in Texas, we say instead of you all, we say y'all. It's very cowboy. But other than that word, you just have different accents in different parts of the world. One thing that happened in Texas during the pandemic that was different from New York or California, our government did not shut down the businesses. So we had businesses shut down until maybe May, from March to May of 2020, but then they were allowed to open. In other states, they were not allowed to open. Children were not allowed to go back to school because the governor in each state in the United States decides how they manage their state. And for that reason, many companies have started to move to Texas from New York and California because they couldn't operate during the pandemic in the states where they were. So, for example, Tesla, have you heard of Elon Musk and Tesla? He moved to Texas and he moved his headquarters to Texas. And he has SpaceX, so he's trying to take rockets to Mars. And that's happening also in Texas. And Florida has similar politics. So Florida also did not close the entire state, and they were able to stay open, and people were able to continue to go to work. So although we had many people that were unemployed, people were able to come back sooner than in other states. And we're seeing that because of that, more people want to move to Texas. Really too many, too many. Austin, the capital where we live, there's a lot of technology. So big technology companies, and then Google and Meta, Facebook, TikTok. Do you have TikTok? It's fine. I don't understand TikTok, but I understand it can be fun, right? So we should do a TikTok. No, no. Sophia says no. So those are some things about Texas and what changes we experienced during the pandemic that were different. For students, it was very difficult, of course, but virtual learning helped a little bit. But I think it's very important to be able to see your friends and to have interactions. And so very grateful that now with the vaccines that we're moving forward, and the vaccines have been politicized, kind of political. Some people believe in them, other people don't think there's been enough studies. And so, but essentially now the vaccine is a passport to travel, because you really can't go anywhere in the world right now without your passport and your vaccine card. And so even just for practical reasons, besides medical reasons, we're seeing more compliance, which we think is important in order to progress and in order to start to travel and have more business exchanges. So, and what else can I tell you about Texas? If you have a question, just raise your hand, because I'm happy to talk about anything you like. But Austin is a very big city, more than 1 million people, a little bit bigger than Rio Tercero. Not as big as Córdoba, but we don't have the infrastructure, so there's a lot of traffic. We have a lot of traffic. We don't really use the buses. We don't have a subway like New York. So we're working on that so that we can eventually have more access to carpool or things that are be more sustainable. Oh, I heard you were learning about green technology. Yes? What did you learn? Can you share something you were talking about in class? Yes? Oh, you were talking about nuclear power energy because you have a nuclear plant here, right? Very good. And what are your thoughts about it? For again, natural gas is very popular right now, another form of energy that everyone is trying to deliver. And people consider Texas, they think about oil and gas because we have a lot of oil and gas in Texas in the Permian Basin. But the reality is that in the 1980s, the gas prices dropped and everyone lost a lot of money. So since then, Texas learned to diversify. Do you know that word? Diversificar. Yes. So we have many different industries. We have solar, wind, technology, healthcare. We learned as a state that it was important not to have all of our money, all of our focus in one industry. So oil and gas is still very important for Texas, but we realize that you need that and more sustainable options going forward. In fact, Argentina has a lot of lithium, and you need lithium for the batteries for the electric vehicles. So we're starting to see many more electric vehicles, particularly in Austin, because so many people from California move to Austin. But you'll see more industries, things that you could have never imagined. I couldn't study Word or Excel or PowerPoint because it didn't exist when I was your age. And so the amount of growth that we're seeing is really very impressive. And I'm not sure here if it's the same, but I know in the United States now, because of technology and because of all of the new jobs that are being created that didn't exist before, people talk about how you used to grow up saying, I want to be a lawyer or a doctor, and that would be your job for 30 or 40 years. And now we tell students, think about what you want to be first, because in your life you'll have so many opportunities maybe to change and to adapt to the new growth and the new technology that develops over time. So it's very exciting, and it's also happening very fast, sometimes too fast, right? But it creates many opportunities for all of you that I can't even imagine right now. And so I just, hope that all of you will believe in yourselves, know that someone born in Rio Tercero can do many, many things and end up in many places and have many life experiences. And the education that you're getting at this school is very impressive. The fact that all of you can understand me is it's incredible. I'm so impressed. And you speak Portuguese and you speak Spanish. You will have many, many opportunities ahead of you, and I'm very excited for you for that and inspired because it's very difficult to learn another language, and you're learning 3 or 2. So, do you have any questions for me? Sure. So it's divided from kindergarten, with jardín, to 12th grade. And so you keep counting. When you get to 5th grade, then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if you're in 5th, you're actually in 11th grade, and you have another year before you're a senior and you graduate. So when you get to 9th grade, they also call it's high school. So you have elementary until 6, and then a middle school, 6, 7, 8, and then you have high school, 9, 10, 11, 12, and they're freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. And the seniors graduate. They don't do a class trip. They have a prom, which is a big dance. And there's a lot of pressure about attending university in the United States. So now in 5th, you start taking tests that you have to get good grades on to get accepted into universities. And you start writing essays, and you have to write essays about why the school should accept you, why you would be a good student, why you would be a good alumni, and you have to sort of apply. You have to apply for these schools, and you pay for the school. So it's very different than here, where you don't pay for your education, right? But it's a real gift that hopefully you'll take advantage of. Sometimes I think if it's free, you worry it's not valued as much. In the United States, it's very expensive to study, very expensive. So I have to work a lot, and he has to work a lot because we want them to be able to go to a good university, but the university has to select them. And Sophia will have a very busy year this year, visiting different colleges in the United States, writing essays, and doing things so that she can hopefully be accepted to a school that she wants to attend. They also look very much at volunteer work. I don't know, do you do philanthropy, volunteer work? Filantropía, hacen eso acá? Sí, no? So, universities will see how you have helped your community. What have you done to improve your community? So, Sophia, we take food to the homeless. We drove the food truck, dropped off food or socks, or they do different programs, but always finding ways to give back to books. We have book donations, or different things depending on what the needs are. And then, of course, at Christmas time, there's always more activity around volunteering and trying to find ways to help the community. That's very popular there, very important. So then we have some other things that, like in Texas, they started a campaign that says, "Don't mess with Texas." And it was started 20 years in the 90s. But we still use that slogan, "Don't mess with Texas." And it's about not littering, not throwing trash on the street. And so you can get a fine if you throw trash on the street or gum, or if you don't pick up your dog's mess. You don't see any of that in the United States. It's not allowed. And so those things are a little different here. But we also make a lot of trash. We have big trash cans, and you have little trash cans. So you're doing better with sustainability, I think. Do you have other questions about school? No? Why do you want to learn English? Can someone tell me why? For the music, the movies? There's no wrong answer. I'm just having a conversation. No one's listening. No one knows why? Why do you want to learn English? To talk to your friends. See? Opportunities. Yeah. It's spoken in many places around the world. Although Spanish, 95% of places you go, you can also communicate. So between English and Spanish, you're doing well. And then you have Portuguese. I was telling your director that many people in the United States are moving to Portugal. Good quality of life, very pretty. They make it easier to gain residency. I have not been, but I hope to visit sometime. I've been to Europe, but I haven't traveled as much because when I have vacation, this is where I come. This is my vacation. I love it. I love to see all of you and to be here and to walk in the centro and have cortado, and it's all just so much fun. So, was anyone at Alabama Saturday night? No. Yes, I was. Yeah, there was a singer there, also a friend of mine. That was fun. And but you stay up very late. I don't know when you sleep. When do you sleep? Sophia was invited to go out Saturday, and they said 3 in the morning we're leaving. We were all sleeping at 3 in the morning. So, but you're up early now. Do you take siesta? You sleep siesta? Everyone? Yes. Uh-huh. See, that's the secret. Good. Very good. Well, thank you for giving me your time today. I want to be mindful. No sé qué hora es, pero les agradezco mucho la oportunidad de haber hablado con ustedes. Greg, you have anything you want to add? No? Not beers, but Greg, do you want to answer this question? You should tell them why I'm giving you the microphone.
Hello. Yes. My name is Greg. I make commercials. I'm a director. And one of my clients is the state of Texas and the Department of Health. And we have been doing a campaign for 2 years now with doctors talking about the benefits of the vaccine. But the vaccine is very controversial in Texas. and all over the United States. And some of the doctors that have agreed to be filmed to talk about it, they have had to back out. They've had to cancel because they have gotten death threats from people that have found out that they're going to speak publicly about the vaccination. So it's very controversial topic, but we are doing our best to kind of get the word out to people, to educate them about the existence of the vaccine, and let them make up their minds to talk with their doctors about whether or not they want to get the vaccine. So there's a big push to make sure that everybody gets vaccinated, but it's their choice at the end of the day.
Yeah, so in Texas, no beers.
Yep.
No beers, because we feel it's a very independent in Texas. Then people don't like to be told what to do, and so the government, we're trying to educate, but not persuade with vaccines or other things. Employers might do that. We sort of let companies decide how to run their businesses. And so there's some incentive that way with employers. Some employers say if you're not vaccinated, you can't work here. But it's been very controversial. And in Texas, we tried to make it a personal choice. Not everyone agrees with that. So thank you. ¿Qué les gusta a ustedes de vivir en Río Tercero? ¿Nada? ¿No? Sí, ese. Sí, con Sofía y Hansen. Entiendo. A mí me gusta todo de Río Tercero. Por eso pregunto, digo, qué lindo que puedan vivir acá. Aprovechenlo y aprovechen estas oportunidades tan lindas de educación que tienen. Los felicito mucho. Y me inspira a mí ver el futuro. So thank you all. Bye. If you come to Texas, come to the Capitol. Let me know. We'll take you around. Okay? You'll see someone who was born in Rio Tercero in the office. Bye.
Bueno, agradecemos a Ruth y hemos conocido también a su esposo, ¿qué se llama el nombre? Greg. Bien. Y a sus hijos, Sofía, y se me va el nombre. Hudson. Eso. Les agradecemos la visita, les agradecemos este compartir tan lindo que hemos tenido. Y bueno, los esperamos, si el año que viene vuelven, los esperamos para que podamos compartir otro momento más. Así que bueno, muchas gracias a todos y que tengamos todos un muy buen día.